my name is David Gardner. I'm Executive Director of the North Carolina Center for Health and Wellness at the University of North Carolina, Asheville. I want to welcome you to the live stream of the keynote address from the National Physical Education Institute for Wednesday, July 30th. I hope you enjoy this keynote address.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know, we've been at it now. This is day 3, and we've learned a lot, and we've smiled a lot, and we've cried a little bit, Mr. McDonald. Kind of teared up just a little bit. I would like to reintroduce Dr. Bob Pangrazi. Bob, would you please come up? We have something to give you. Bob, this is just a token, a small token of our affection towards you. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to thank you and your stellar crew for all the work you did, because you make my job easy. I just step up here and say a few words, and you guys get all the background work done. So thank you all. Appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And I'd like to thank all of you for being teachers, taking the time to be here and be who you are. You are the fabric of our society. You make a difference. I am the luckiest guy in the world to be able to work with teachers. I love you all, love being around teachers, and you know, I'm not ready to take my shoes off yet, so it's okay.
That's right, thank you. Before I introduce our closing keynote speaker, I just really wanted everyone here to see these are the behind-the-scenes folks. These are the individuals that have started. They get up at 5:30 in the morning to get here at 6:30 in the morning to get ready for a registration that begins at 7:30 in the morning, and they've done this several days. And just a round of applause, please. If you all could just give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate all the hard work that you all have done. We have North Carolina Center for Health and Wellness staff members. We have the Department of Mass Communications at UNC Asheville. We have our wonderful North Carolina Center for Health and Wellness fellows and the staff at Great Activities Publishing Company. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Okay, thank you. And now, it is my great privilege to introduce our next keynote speaker, our closing keynote speaker. His name is Baker Harrell. I've known Baker for about 3.5 years.
At least.
At least 3.5 years. And this is a gentleman after my own heart. He is a social media expert. He has dedicated a great majority of his time and effort to help us, physical educators, understand the importance of gathering community strength to get more people off the sidelines. We have plenty of individuals involved in the game, but we're getting old and we need refreshment. And part of that refreshment comes from energizing more and more folks at the grassroots level. And so, all the way from Austin, Texas, Baker Harrell.
Thank you.
Malcolm dead.
Thanks. How we doing? Who's excited? Who's leaving inspired? Who's a little worried about this title? No one? What do you think about that title? Are you upset with me? You disagree?
Do you know what precipice means? I had to look it up. On the edge. Let me tell you why I'm here. First and foremost, I'm here because I love you. I truly love you. How many of you know me? Like 4. But I still love you. Because I love what you represent, what you stand for, what you do every day. I truly believe that you have the hardest job in America. Truly. I think being an educator is hard enough, but being a physical educator is so difficult. You're facing an uphill battle every day. You are on the precipice each day. And yet you come to work with passion, with inspiration, ready to lead, ready to solve problems, ready to inspire the next generation. You are my hero. Now, I'm an outsider. I've never taught a day of physical education in my life. So what I'm going to share with you is one guy's opinion. Just one, me. Remember, I love you though, right? So take what I say with a heavy grain of salt. But I hope that what I have to say shakes you up a little bit, makes you think a little differently about yourself and your profession. But remember that I'm here because I love you. And I love you because of my journey. So I grew up in the metropolis of Canton, Mississippi. Anyone ever been to Mississippi? You've driven through, right? You didn't stay. So I grew up in this small little town in Mississippi, and I didn't have physical education. I literally didn't. Our physical education was recess. That's it. By the time I was 11 years old, I had lived almost 2/3 of my life as an overweight child. My generation, Generation X, ushered in the obesity epidemic that we're all so familiar with. And I was on the leading edge of that. I would show up to school and get made fun of. I would hate going to school as a result, and I was an average student as a result of those things. I struggled every day because no one taught me the value of healthy eating, of physical activity, regular physical fitness, everything that you guys stand for, everything that you teach on a daily basis. There was no one for me. And as a result, I suffered. So fast forward to the end of my 5th grade year, I am going to the mall to try on jeans, which I hated to do because I knew that I would have to confront my weight. I finally am forced to wear husky jeans. Anyone else had to wear huskies when they were? Whoever invented husky jeans, I still want to find that person and do bad things to them. My goal in life up to that point was just simply to not wear husky jeans. So the woman who's helping me find clothes takes me to the husky jeans section and hands me these husky jeans. I go back into the changing room, I put them on, and I lose it. I just, at 11 years old, hit rock bottom. My mother comes in, she sees me on the floor crying. It's the first time she's really ever seen me struggle with my weight. She says, "What's going on?" I said, "Mom, we can't live this way anymore, and I think that means, I can't live this way anymore. I think that means we can't live this way anymore as a family. We have to change." But we didn't have anyone to turn to. I didn't have a physical educator. So I had to do it on my own. And my mom had to do it on her own. And there are so many of me's out there. There are so many of me's that exist today. And I thank you for being there for those kids. Because if I'd had you to turn to, my life would have been a lot easier when I was 11 years old. So I'm also here because of my work. I run a nonprofit organization, as already said, that's focused on building healthier communities. It's called It's Time Texas, and we'll serve about 5 million Texans this year. But we put PE at the center of everything we do, because we believe that you are at the heart of the solution to all the problems that we're so familiar with. So I'm here because I love you. I'm here because I know your value. I've lived your value. And I'm here because I've dedicated my life to serving physical educators. That's why I'm here. Why I'm worried. What do you think the public thinks about physical education? If we were to walk around downtown Asheville, what do you think the public has to say about physical education? Do you think they understand what you do? Do you think they value? How many of you think that 9 out of 10 people would say, yeah, I really value and understand what the physical educator in my child's school does? Some of you. Most, no. Right? So this is my highly scientific chart. And we can disagree about, should the line be more like this or more like this? And I promise, guys, there's some good news coming. I'm not here to let you walk away being bummed out. This is all actually really good news. I believe the quality of physical education since the 50s has gotten a lot better. A lot better. Would you agree with that? But I think the perceived value of what you do has dropped off. And I'm speaking at large. I think that by and large, the general public doesn't understand what you do and why it matters, and therefore they don't value it in the way they need to, the way they must, the way they should. So value proposition. How many of you have ever heard this term? Couple? So it's a business term. It's more specifically a marketing term. And this is all about, in case you can't read this in the back, it's all about the benefit you provide to whom and why you are uniquely capable of delivering that benefit. So I would argue that we have this situation because by and large, not across the board, but by and large, most people do not understand what PE's value proposition is. Do you feel like you know what PE's value proposition is? Can you explain that simply? I came across this quote from Scott Kretschmar. Does everyone know Scott Kretschmar? I was doing some research. I wasn't even looking for this, and I was just struck by how I think this really encapsulates the issue. So, in case you can't read it, he basically says physical education lacks professional commitment and passion that could be generated if it was able to identify and embrace objective shared values. The general absence of firm value commitments places the profession at risk and may shorten its lifespan. That was written in 1990. So 24 years later, we're all here. It hasn't died out yet. But what he's getting at here is that unless PE understands its value, and unless physical educators understand that value collectively, PE is in real jeopardy. And I go back to the value proposition. So Forbes Business Magazine, everyone knows Forbes, they say ventures without a clear value proposition are doomed to fail. In the business world, if you don't know your value proposition and if you aren't working through your value proposition every day, you are dead in the water. And this is essentially what Kretschmar is saying. Same thing said to different audiences in slightly different ways, but it's the same message. What is our value proposition? What do we stand for? What do we represent, both internally and externally? How often do you guys think about this? How often do you wake up every day and say, you know, this is a deal that I need to be concerned about because I feel like the general public doesn't value what we do? That's great. I'm going to argue that you need to be more concerned about this. This needs to be top of your list. This needs to be not only top of your list, but top of the list for the field. There needs to be an extreme sense of urgency around this. I truly believe that, as an outsider, as someone who loves you. Because my outside perspective, I think, allows me to see PE as a lot of other people see it. The only difference is I understand your value. I understand what you represent, and I'm committed to doing what I can to help PE. But I truly believe that PE, as Kretschmar said, as Forbes said, is staring down obsolescence. And that scares me, that saddens me, and that's why I'm here. How many of you have ever done a SWOT analysis? And did you do the SWOT analysis of your program? Yeah? I highly recommend that you all do this. So I'm going to walk you through what I think, again, one guy, one opinion, what I think is PE's SWOT analysis. So is everyone familiar with that term, SWOT analysis? It's an acronym. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it allows you in the center to understand your goal built around your value proposition. And anyone can do this. It could be a teacher, it could be an administrator, it could be Shape America. So let's talk about some weaknesses for PE. Again, I'm going to get to the upside here, guys. I promise. So just to kind of give you a little peek at what I'm going to get at. All of this is really good news, and I'll tell you why. So an absence of clear shared purpose. I already talked about that. I think we all agree that, by and large, PE's value proposition is missing, weak, needs to be better strengthened. As I mentioned, I feel like there needs to be a greater sense of urgency. I think when you gather, you need to talk about these things. Not in a negative way, but in an uplifting way. Guys, we have to move the ball, literally and figuratively. We have to advance this field. We have to be concerned about this. Our field that we love so much faces obsolescence. We are on the precipice. I don't think that you're trained adequately yet to do what's required to advance PE in the ways that I'm going to talk about. And that's not your fault. That's not your fault. But it requires you to work with those who are thinking about it in this way, who are trying to help lead physical education forward in this way. But your training, by and large, has not allowed you to be in a position to advance PE's value proposition in the way that I think you ultimately have to advance it. And that's, again, that's not your fault. And there are opportunities to help solve that problem. And there's got to be this call to action. It is not enough to just do rigor. You have to put forward to the public this new value proposition. So threats. So weaknesses are internal, threats are external. The perceived value by the public and private sector. They don't understand what you do, they don't get it, and therefore they don't truly value it. Current trends in education and philanthropy. Everything is going to education reform, STEM, core. Where's physical education in any of that? It's not there. It is there, but they're not inviting you to that table because they don't understand your value. And I argue that there is a healthy living movement that is underway. I think it's international, but in this country, more and more people are concerned about health and fitness. There are more and more companies that are started each day to support healthy living. There is a new health economy that's emerging. There are more and more nonprofits like mine that are starting to help support healthy communities. And this movement, by and large, is passing physical education by. We, at It's Time Texas, we know you, we love you. The first person I hired was a retired PE teacher. She taught PE for 29 years. Because I understood you have to be at the center of this. But not everyone shares my view. There is a movement that is growing. It's underway. And you have the opportunity now to help lead it. So here's the good news, guys. I told you it was coming. Why I'm hopeful. You guys have some incredible strengths. Incredible, incredible. And I'm just going to name a few. You are at the center of solving our country's most pressing problems. There is not a single major societal issue that you could list that I couldn't draw a clear line back to health. Health is fundamental. You know that. That's why you do what you do. Health is fundamental. It's fundamental to education, to the economy. I could go on and on and on. You are at the core. Your product is at the core of solving our country's most pressing social problems. Do you believe that? Is that why you do what you do? Do you talk about what you do in that way? Good. I want everyone to nod. Ultimately, that's the goal, right? That we have to start thinking about these things in this way. That doesn't mean we throw out the ways that we approach our classroom, the ways that we do things. It means that we add this to it. You have a sleeping army. There are so many teachers that are part of your profession that are waiting to get turned on, that are waiting to get activated. You have this massive army. Every cause needs an army. Every movement needs an army. You have an army that you can offer. But I would argue that by and large, that army has not been recruited and mobilized. And that's what has to happen in order for that army to have the kind of impact that I'm ultimately calling for. You're part of that army. You're a leader within that army, but only if you see yourself that way. And then think about the reach and the influence that that army has. It's massive. You have massive reach and influence. Think about the student that then influences the mother, that then influences their coworkers. You can lead that. You do lead that. You have incredible, incredible power. But you have to recognize that, and you have to want to leverage that and activate that. Again, there is this movement that's underway. So again, opportunity external, strength internal. There is a movement that's underway. And you're part of it. But unless you claim your role in it, it will pass you by. It will not serve your interests. This is a massive one, I believe. So every now and again, I'll see an ad for Exxon that's investing a ton of money in STEM, right? And what are they doing? They're creating this really talented engineer that at age 40 develops type 2 diabetes and becomes a drain on their company and on our community. Why aren't they investing dollar for dollar in physical education so that that engineer has a really long trajectory, so that that engineer is better educated, that engineer becomes a really productive member of their workforce? Corporate America wants and needs what you have and what you offer. They just don't know what you do. They don't adequately understand what it is that you do and the value that you provide. They don't understand that you are truly creating the future workforce that they're going to inherit. How often are you going out and speaking to the business community? How often are you showing up at a small business association meeting? I would argue that they want to hear from you. They want to engage with you. They tell me this. So we work with a lot of folks in the corporate sector. They want what you have to offer. They just don't know you're offering it. They don't know how to interact with you, and you don't necessarily know how to interact with them. There are growing numbers of health conscious and health enthusiasts, right? That's part of the movement, right? So the personal trainer in your community, do they know what you're doing? Are they supporting you? Do they care about your class? Do they care about what you do? The dietitian, the person that owns the vitamin shop, are they connected to you? Are they supporting you, and do they understand what you have to offer? They want to. They're there. They're ready to be engaged. But you have to seek them out. How many of you think what I'm saying is too hard? And please, again, I'm here because I love you. I want to help. How many of you think that this is pie in the sky? It's happening. It's happening. And the opportunities are there. I feel like Shape America is in a really good position to help deliver some of these things to you, and the training that I talked about, to help equip you and empower you to do these things, to better do these things. I can tell you, Dr. Lambden is a good friend, a mentor. She serves on my board. They are, as already said earlier, they're rethinking everything. They are in pivot mode. They are starting to really rethink what physical education is about, and more importantly, what their role in helping you advance that value proposition that I talked about for PE going forward. I'm hopeful because of Dr. Lambden's leadership. I'm hopeful that Shape, because they're rethinking everything, are going to be positioned to help you advance the work in your community, in your schools, in the way that I'm describing. So I am hopeful. And here's what I propose. Your value proposition. How many of you regularly answer the question that way? Okay. How many of you, when you're asked, what do you do? Who are you? What do you do? Answer the question this way. Awesome. Let's hang out later, okay? Have you heard this term before, social entrepreneur? Okay. So let me, let's do a little interactive piece here, if you don't mind. Ask me what I do. What do you do? Thank you. I was talking to him, but that's cool. You want to play too? That's fine. I love you. We can all play. I'm a social entrepreneur. What is that? I build healthy communities. I build healthy communities. I'm a PE teacher. So she asked me, how do you do that? How do you build healthy? I'm a PE teacher. I started with my value. I started with who I am and what I'm about in my role as a physical educator, but I didn't lead with that. I had to explain to them that my value is in building something that they care about. Most people care about healthy community. And that's just one example, guys. Most people care about healthy community. The healthy living movement is really about healthy community. That's where all the research is going. That's where all the funding is going. It's all about environmental change, systems change. That's where it's moving. And you are at the core of that. How do you have a healthy community if you don't have physical education? My community wasn't healthy. We didn't have PE. So I want to challenge you to start to think about yourself as a social entrepreneur, because you are. You're just not calling yourself that. You're not thinking about your job as part of enacting what it means to be a social entrepreneur. You are a social entrepreneur. I don't care if you don't like the term. You're a social entrepreneur. And that's cool. People want to know what a social entrepreneur is all about, right? You are a social entrepreneur. So Ashoka defines social entrepreneur this way. Individuals, see if you see yourself in this, right? Individuals with innovative solutions to society's most pressing social problems. I think Ashoka should have a picture of a PE teacher next to this definition. Because you guys are at the heart, as I mentioned earlier, the heart of solving these social problems. And the trick is, how do you be and how do you enact that in a way that's innovative? How are you innovating? That's what entrepreneurs do. They see a problem and that equals opportunity. They see a challenge and that equals opportunity. I go back to this. It takes me a little while, sorry. Wow, there we go. Entrepreneurs love this situation. Because guess what? The product is really good. Hey guys, our product is awesome. We just need to figure out how we sell it, how we get more people involved in it, how we perfect the business of selling that product and growing that product. That's an awesome problem to have. Entrepreneurs see this and they go, huge, huge opportunity, huge upside. This is a problem we can overcome. Social entrepreneur, how many of you are going to say that the next time you're asked? All right. If nothing else, there you go. Success. So what is PE's value proposition? We most often think about PE as a subject area, right? How do you define PE? What is PE? Fun? Awesome. Perfect. So everybody has a different variation on the same thing. It's about helping people access their biggest, best life and have fun along the way. Well, how many of you think about PE as a cause? I think that's part of our problem. We need to look at PE as not another subject area, not just a field, not just a profession, but truly a cause. What do you think about that? Can you get behind that? What does that mean when you think about PE as a cause? So positioning what you do as changing society. Social solution. So causes are essentially solutions to identified social problems. That's what causes are. That's what you're about. Causes are about solving social problems. That's what you do. You solve the problem we have and prevent that problem from coming back. You're a social entrepreneur. I would really like to start to see PE talk about itself as a cause. I would like to see you talk about PE as a cause. I think that's part of the issue, is that we limit the way in which we think about not only what we do, but why we're doing it and what we're doing it for. PE, in my mind, is a cause. When I talk about why I do what I do, and when I talk about physical educators and physical education, I talk about it as a cause. I talk about it as a solution to a social problem. And that changes the conversation, because all of a sudden people want to know more. They want to understand, well, how is it positioned to do that? And then you have a dialogue. You have a relationship all of a sudden with someone where you can explain how PE is not old PE. It's not roll out the dodgeball. PE is the solution to so many problems. That is the value proposition. So, every good entrepreneur is concerned about success. How do you measure it? How do you define it? Now, I'm going to throw out 3 metrics that may not apply, that may not be any good. But if I were asked to come lead a physical education program tomorrow, thinking about PE as a cause and as a social entrepreneur, these are the metrics that I would be concerned about. Members. Every cause needs an army. Every cause needs supporters. Otherwise, it's one person up against the world. It's a cause of one. Cause is all about numbers. It's all about changing norms. That's what causes do. You can't solve a societal problem unless you're creating social change. Social change is a numbers game. So when I say members here, I mean your supporters, your fans, your customers. Who are your members? That's critically important. The next is money. How many of you could use more money? Every one of you. You don't have enough money because the people with money don't value what you do sufficiently. And they're wrong. They're wrong. They don't understand. We haven't made the case to them. But we think about those with money in traditional ways oftentimes. But when you've got members, these people are outside the traditional streams, the financing streams that we typically look to in education. These people have money. These people have influence. They have relationships. And if they believe in what you're doing, if they're part of your cause, all of a sudden now you have more money. This is about gaining power and influence. This is about gaining capacity. That is about what? Minutes. Do minutes matter in your world? They matter a lot, right? And that's not just minutes in the classroom, that's minutes with those students. That's minutes with those parents. That's minutes with your fellow teachers. That's time for you to sell your product, for you to get more members, for you to get more money. Minutes are critically important, right? So if I'm you, which I'm not, I love you, but I'm not, and I know that. I'm not a physical educator. But if I was tomorrow, this would be my dashboard. Now, am I suggesting that this is the only thing that matters in PE? Absolutely not. You already have your standards. You already have your forms of assessment. And I'm suggesting keep those, because that equals your product. This is about your business. Your business is physical education, your class, your field, your profession. The assessment that you do is about your product, making your product better. That's great. You got to have a good product. Without a good product, you can't get members. Members won't give you money. You don't have minutes, which is the situation that you're in now. So stay focused on your product. Every good entrepreneur is focused intensely on their product, but they're also very focused on how they sell that product and how big their market for that product is. Because if they're not, they're dead. They don't have a business. So here are the three things that I think PE needs to focus on. And what I'm suggesting here is, I think that this applies at the individual level, at the school level, as well as at the national level. And again, I can tell you that SHAPE is thinking about these things. I believe that in terms of achieving the kind of success that you all want, need, that we need for you, that we all dream about, we have to position PE as a cause at the center of this healthy living movement. When you talk about what you do, you need to talk about it in these terms. When you think about how to improve what you do, you need to think about it in these terms. Not exclusively, but you need to add this to your paradigmatic mix. This needs to become part of how you go about doing your profession. That PE is a cause for you, and it needs to be a cause for others. The model that I propose, again, is members plus money equals more minutes. Now, we could argue, well, you know, should it be members plus money plus minutes? Is there something missing here? Probably. You're the expert, not me. But if I'm thinking about PE as a cause, as a social entrepreneur, and PE is my business, again, this is my dashboard. This is what I'm concerned about. Because more minutes equals more product equals more members and more money. You guys didn't know you were going to get a business lecture, did you? Hang in there, I'm almost done. And then your market, right? So who are your members? Who are these people that you need in your army? Who are these people that help further the cause? Again, as I said, from a strength standpoint, you have massive reach, directly and indirectly. You touch with that one student, how many people? Hundreds. That one student. Multiply that times what, 500? Each year? You have massive reach, and you might not know that. You might not be thinking about that. Students, parents, health enthusiasts, influencers. How many of you regularly talk to a councilwoman, councilman, to your mayor, depending on the size of your community? That's awesome. Again, it's about building your membership. And Joey talked about how today, using modern technology, we can build that membership and communicate with that membership in ways that were cost prohibitive 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You have the ability to, as Artie's trying to convey through the use of Twitter, you have the ability to build this membership and communicate with this membership in ways that didn't exist, again, 5, 10 years ago. And the business community is so interested in what you're about. They just don't know it. They just don't know that you are part of their solution. So, I'm done. I want to say, yay, I'm done. I want to say again that I love you and that I appreciate what you do and that I hope that you will think about these things as you go about your work. Because, again, I think they're critically important. I think PE is in this situation in some ways because we as a field and those on the sidelines who support you haven't thought enough about this, haven't worked through this model. And I expected this to be a little bit like, what is this guy saying, right? Like, I'm already tired, you know, I don't need Econ 101 here. But again, please think about these things. Please think about what this means potentially for the field of physical education, what physical education needs to do. Because again, I am concerned that PE is on the precipice. And it doesn't have to be. It shouldn't be. And I'm committed to working with all of you in whatever way I can, being supportive in whatever way I can to ensure that, that you have the success that not only you deserve, but that our country needs for physical education. So I love you. Big hugs. Thank you, Artie. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Safe travels home, and thanks for including me, guys. Thanks for letting an outsider in.
Baker, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't have a mic, so I'll speak loudly into your chest. But I think your message was right on point. I think this was a great message to end this institute on, to frame the value and the importance and the cause of physical education from outside our profession, because we all know this internally. We've lived this all of our professional lives, but it's great to hear from an outsider who loves us that this is important for us to do and to incorporate in the work that we do. On behalf of the National Physical Education Institute, we want to present you this
so much.
Little token.
Thank you.
And thank you again for coming.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Baker. Hey, come on.
Come on.
Show me some love.
Thank you, man.
Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a few individuals that I would like to personally thank. Dr. Diane Kraft, if you wouldn't mind coming down. Dr. Kim Ballard, if you wouldn't mind coming down. Melanie Champion, one of our National Teachers of the Year. Aaron Hart from Spark. John Smith, another National PE Teacher of the Year from Flag House. And Chip Candy, another National PE Teacher of the Year, also from Flag House. If y'all would come up here, please. Come up here and stand. And let the rest of America and the world see you. Yeah, great. Big round of applause. Thank you. Well, not done yet, not done yet. So, Diane Kraft is from SUNY Cortland. She's an right. She has a very strong background in adaptive PE. We started a new adaptive PE track this year, along with our central office health and PE administrators track. And so, thank you. I love the way she just jumped right in. Now, many of you do not know this, but at one time, North Carolina was the gold capital of the Eastern Seaboard. There was a lot of gold mined in North Carolina. In fact, Charlotte, North Carolina was actually a U.S. mint How many of you knew that? Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. We have been able, through our vast resources, to find some of that leftover ore. And so, would like to give to each of you these keys made of solid gold. Solid gold keys. Diane?
Thank you very much.
Come on, y'all. And Aaron from Spark, Dr. Kim Ballard from Spark, and SUNY Cortland. That's right. Aaron is a member of the faculty at SUNY Cortland.
Thank you, sir.
Chip Candy, John Smith. Big round of applause, please. Big round of applause. Woo-hoo. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. Just don't melt it down. It may surprise you when you do. I wanted everyone and whoever's viewing us on the live web stream to understand that we will continue to be here in Asheville, North Carolina. Please mark these dates on your calendar, July 27th, 28th, 29th. Wanted to quickly give you an introduction to our 2015 keynotes, if you wouldn't mind just kind of hanging on just a little bit. So, Kalima, if you'd hit the next slide. And if I could find my glasses, one moment. Try it again. Okay. We have an international cadre of social media experts that will be coming here to Asheville, North Carolina, August 27th, 28th, 29th. Andy Vasily is from China. He's one individual that Joey talked about. Next, please. Dr. Ash Casey is from the UK, England. He's another individual that's been mentioned several times over the last 3 days. Next. Jared Robinson, the PE geek. How many of you have been on Jared's blogs or purchased any of his apps? Wonderful physical education apps. He will be here next summer. Who's that guy? Joey. Joey Fight will be back. And Nathan Horn from Singapore. Do not miss the opportunity to interact for 3 days. These are experts. These are cutting-edge physical education teachers. Please write down July 27th, 28th, 29th. Thank you very much for coming.